All right. Check. Let's do this. So we got a massively elevated VIX. Well, we'll talk about Bitcoin here in a little bit. Bitcoin is still pushing on lows, or not on lows, but here, the 4-hour candle is bearish. So there's what we got through the London session. The London session made the low day, which I posted at that time because I was awake. And then right now you're seeing it pull back a little bit. So is the VIX done going up? Well, I don't know. But I do know this. Where did it go? Here's the 100 exponential moving average. Oh, wait, no, I don't have that open, do I? Yeah, no, I do not. There we go. So here is the 100 exponential moving average, and then this green dotted line is your VWAP for the week. So the VIX is elevated a lot more than the S&P is down. Remember, last week the S&P only went down 3%. That ain't shit. This week, all we did was made a fresh weekly low, and we bounced. This is a daily candle. So you have already filled the gap, right? Most people would have been looking for shorts at gap fill. So most people today on the ES futures market was shorting here. Boom. That would have been gap fill. Right here. And you can see how they were wrong AF, right? Huge, explosive move through that area. This is an absolute much deeper correction than you should be getting right here. Like if this weakness was going to keep going, more than likely it would have rolled over here at the daily VWAP. It would have kept going. So I don't think it's going up anymore. I think this is all going to be retraced. I don't know. I haven't seen any news, but I don't need to see any news. I can see how bullish this market is for right now anyway. So the trade yesterday was a short, and it was not it was a good one right here, right? This is where I took a short on the futures market. It's also when we took the short on bonk. So it ended up being a really good one, and I'm glad that I was awake down here to take profits. I did close that position out. I did just now open a new short, a new put position on the ES futures, just simply because we're into potential resistance here. So if we get another big explosive 30-minute candle like this, then more than likely, obviously, I'm going to be wrong. There you go, the 100 and both 200s. I mean, it's bullish. That's a huge pop. It ain't bearish. Huge pop, man. Look at the cash market. The cash markets are nothing. Like, the cash markets, you don't even see that giant gap because all of the downside move happened post-market because London bought the lows. London bought the lows down here. Now you're right back up. So, in a sense, all you did today was pulled back to unchanged on the week. Look at how big the move was expected to be this week. And we traded inside of Friday's close and up to here. So that's the range that we traded inside of. Right there's your high. So from that high to that close, that's your range. You traded inside of that all week, even though the futures has a big wick down below this candle. Right? You're looking at it right here. So there's that Friday candle. And you smoked that low, and it's been straight up ever since. This isn't bearish. This is not a bearish move. Now, with that being said, there are oftentimes bullish rallies that are super aggressive in bearish markets, but this is not a bearish market. Here. Go to the big screen. Man, I don't know. There isn't any way that I can make you see the whole screen. I can't. Anyway. I mean, the screen this is like halfway. Wait. Right here is the halfway point on the screen. So there's that much more of overhang on the other side. I love it because I can pull up a daily chart on this screen and see all the way back to September 2023. I can't do that on my 27-inch monitors. But anyways, enough of the whatever that is. So let's come back here and let's throw on this. I mean, not bearish, man. If anything, this is a selling opportunity because you're in the daily res, all right? So it's not bearish yet. If we break down from here today, then it will be. So this is why I'm taking the short. You've got the weekly volume weighted average price, you've got the daily 21 exponential, and you've got daily res all coming in at one little area. So I got to put on here. I will give it some room. I made almost $600 on the tiny account this morning on that EX short, or on that ES short last night. I threw my back out not yesterday, but the day before yesterday, picking up a case of water bottles. And I mean, obviously I'm not a big old pansy. Obviously I can pick up, I'm a big guy, right? I'm 6 foot, 220 pounds. I'm a little fat, but I'm strong. And to some extent, that case of water isn't heavy at all. But I guess it's how I picked it up. I threw my back out, and it's the worst it's ever been. I know it's just a pulled muscle, but I can't even move. All day yesterday, I laid around after I got off the live stream. I could not get comfortable on the couch. No matter how I laid, I was in excruciating pain. And then last night I went to bed. I fell asleep around 11 o'clock at night. I woke up at 12:50, 1 o'clock a.m., and could not go back to sleep in excruciating pain. So I was up in the office from 1 a.m. this morning till about 4. Then I went back to bed, laid down because the Tylenol and ibuprofen were kicking in, and I slept until 10. So it's kind of a good thing because right now is the trading opportunity. As far as on risk markets, I don't see a trading opportunity on any of the other markets, unfortunately. So the bonk short, I took profits down here. I'm glad I did. I will probably watch like that swing high. That was probably the trade opportunity already. That happened at 7 a.m. So I missed that. I mean, it hasn't really went anywhere. And like I said yesterday, even though it's a good short looking back in hindsight, because this is where we shorted it during the live stream right here, and we got that candle. This is the candle that actually helped me get out of the trade. I took this with a smaller position size, if you remember, because I was iffy about the trade to begin with, based on this right here, based on this divergence or the deltas. The deltas were extremely bullish. So I took it on a smaller position size so I could mitigate the risk better. And it ended up taking off in the right direction without me adding to it, because nothing seemed to be that bearish yesterday. It wasn't until last night that things got super bearish. So I don't know that this move is going to continue lower. You're into a massive area of support down here on everything. It is good that we are seeing bearish deltas now, but yesterday the deltas were extremely bullish. It wasn't until it got back down below this level that the delta started to shift. Remember, that's the level we were watching for support. And if you go back in time, remember all of this? I mean, this delta was super bullish. It wasn't until we broke down below support here that the delta started to come in negatively. So at that point, I felt as if the trade was good, it was going to pay, but it literally took all day. So it's not down as much as it should have been. But this right here, this candle, this down move was nice. So that was probably the short op right there, if there is a short continuation trade to even take on this. But all of them look exactly like this. There's Pingu, and then here's Fartcoin, all identical. And that's simply because Bitcoin and Ethereum are identical. Right? So Bitcoin is way more bearish than risk markets right now. Way more bearish. That's why I kind of have an intraday bearish bias today on risk. But I am obviously wrong up here. For now, I'm wrong. We got to keep an eye on it, though, because I'm out 30 days. So in theory, I could hold this a little bit longer. All right, so that's what we got. Excuse me. Yeah, I do. I feel great. I'm glad she did let me rest. I feel better today than I did yesterday. My back isn't hurting as bad as it was yesterday. Yesterday I couldn't even sit in this chair. Right now I got my elbow propped up on the armrest and I'm holding myself slanted and I'm not feeling any pain that way. It's just a pulled muscle. I've had these things pretty much my whole life, but never as bad as yesterday. Yesterday I couldn't even walk. To go to the bathroom was a serious issue. Almost needed a walker. It was bad. But today I'm moving around a little bit better, so that's good news. But yeah, Bitcoin looks, it looks worse than risk markets do. Right now, we're watching to see what happens this week with today's Friday, so it's the close of the risk markets. Bitcoin's still got 2 days. I mean, this thing doesn't look like it wants to roll over here. So that's what we got. Obviously, if we start closing 5-minute candles above this point, then I'm going to have to exit that put position. And the problem is the VIX is coming off in a huge freaking way here. Boo. Like, that daily candle is as big as yesterday's was. You're down 20%. Now, the VIX futures was up huge this morning. And I did post all this in the Discord. Here's VIX futures. Oh, 27.85, 27.92. That's up. That's up huge. So clearly, trending move here, right? You broke out, you set in the low, then you traded sideways, but making higher lows. And then this is yesterday's higher low. So yesterday we had a bearish bias on that, based on that. And it was a good move because boom, boom, boom. But now we think the VIX is done. That's usually what happens. You get an incline move in the VIX for a little while, a week or two, and then it dissipates and goes back to nothingville. And then risk markets find support and end up going back to the upside. Now, we'll see. But so the best way to do that, the best trade to take right now anyway, would be a short. And not because we're trying to call the bear market, just because we're trading at the high of day. The high of day could get all the way back up here. We don't know what it's going to do. Right? So we'll try one good short here, and if it doesn't work, then we'll leave it alone. We're not going to fight the bulls. Would be important to know if at any point Donald Trump said, like in here, for instance, if Donald Trump come out and said, we've got a deal or some shit. Let's go look. This is old, late, and old. Brandon's back to being bearish on Bitcoin. Yeah, that's a weekly chart. Yeah, that would suck. Could happen. I doubt it, but could happen. I don't know if he's saying this because of the 4-year cycle model or because of other factors he's looked at. Brandon does look at a lot of macro data, and I would be willing to even admit that Brandon probably knows a lot more about macroeconomics than I do. But I can tell you one thing right now, the macro is not situated for a big bear market like that. That's a long-term bear market because this is a weekly chart. So he's looking at downside move for the next 5 to 10 weeks. This is like a 15, 20 week correction. I mean, you're looking at all of next year going into Q2 2027. So he's progressive. He's looking at a year and a half worth of data there. I don't see that, but I could be wrong. I am still bullish on the market. Until inflation starts to go up or until the Fed can't lower interest rates any longer because of inflation or unemployment. It has to be one of those things that's going to cause a bear market. And if inflation is not going down, that's literally the only thing that could cause a massive disruption of what we have going on, or a war with China. Obviously, that would be very, very bad. China's a superpower. Markets don't really flux when third world countries are at war, but when superpower versus superpower, nuclear versus nuclear, they probably wouldn't like that. So I have a bullish bias as long as the US and China are not at war. I don't know. Yeah, I'm probably not going to find anything. Let me just type in Trump. He hasn't posted anything. Oh, on Twitter since the 13th. I need to get a True Social account, I guess. It's so stupid. I don't want to. I don't want another account. Anyways. Hope everybody else is having a fantastic morning this morning. Do you think Bitcoin's going to lose the 50 week on the retest at 97K? Or are we going to go back up? Well, first off, we got to lose the 21 week first and foremost. We've lost it. All right, we've lost it at this point. We are seeing downside push. So it's only natural that the next average to look for a retest on would be the 50 week. Oh, I mean, it's not going to lose it today, I don't think. The only way Bitcoin gets down here today is if the VIX explodes up, be up below above $30. And that's not probably going to happen. You know what I mean? Like the move is probably already occurred. The big move down, the big move back up has already occurred. It hasn't occurred yet on Bitcoin, the big move up. So this is the way I'm going to go into next week, right? Hang on, let me get the daily 21 moved down because it is down. Okay. Now, let me go back here. Sorry. Okay. So, markets are usually optimistic. They're not usually pessimistic, right? They're usually optimistic. They usually trend higher. This is the first year in Donald Trump's presidency, so administration, whatever you want to call it. It's been a volatile one. But this is still nothing more than a pullback. Like I said, those lows down there are only 3% on risk. Now, Bitcoin has experienced a much worse correction. Oh, yeah, thank you. Right here. So the 50s down there where he said, I'll pull it back up. Sorry, I didn't realize that I was on the wrong screen. So here's the 50 weekly. You're not getting down there today. You're probably not getting down there this weekend. I'd say the majority of the expansion has already happened. If anything else, I wouldn't doubt a retest of the 21 by Tuesday. The weekly 21. Remember, traps exist here, okay? Even on weeklies. We've gotten traps many, many times on weeklies. I have to find one. Right here's a perfect example of one. Right? You broke support. You broke this support. You tested the 50 and then boom, that was a trap. It went up straight after that. So I could see something like that playing out here, but it would be next week or the week after. It's probably not going to be this week. This is a big down move on Bitcoin, no doubt, but a 30 VIX is huge. People forget about this. It's huge. When the VIX gets above 20, things are really bad out there. Really, really bad. It don't seem like it because it seems like just yesterday we were up at 60 on the VIX. But that was in April. Right? And we don't have a macro reason to suspect a bear market here. A trade war with China isn't good, but is it bear market? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. But I don't know. So we're probably going to see an inside week next week unless Trump backs up what he said. So more than likely, this is it. Like, that's probably going to be your top. unless people have this as the target to fill this gap, right? Then I could see maybe one final push, but not this week. You are testing the midpoint right here today on the VIX. So that's another confluence for a short on S&P, right? So either way, I mean, we might have missed the short on Bitcoin, but we absolutely caught it on the risk markets. We were all over it yesterday. We're all over it today. I mean, if we start closing higher 5-minute candles, we'll bounce. We'll get out of it. But this is the VWAP right here for the weekly range. So if prices push away from this, then the bears are still in control of price. If we break down below these lows today and start pushing, then I'll say, okay, maybe this is worse than I'm thinking, but I don't think that's going to happen. More than likely, you're going to trade down into here or maybe down into here and then bounce and then the bell, right? Because it's already almost 11 o'clock. So your big down move and your big up move has probably already happened today. As trading starts to wind down, going into noon and afternoon. The only way that doesn't happen is if the VIX finds support and starts moving up. So we'll see what it does. If VIX futures find support and start moving back up, then trading will not slow down. It will just get worse. Okay, and right now everybody's in fear mode, obviously, because the markets are rolling over. But there's really nothing I can do about it on the crypto. I don't think you're going to see that today. Okay, and then as far as are we going to go back up to all-time highs or not? Yes. I mean, yeah, as long as we don't go to... Listen, I can't see the future. I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 5 seconds, let alone the next 6 months to a year out, right? I have no idea. Nothing. But why? Like, why would we be looking for a bear market other than the 4-year market cycle theory? Give me another reason. Because this year, everything has changed. We got so many more on-ramps to trade Bitcoin volatility. Why would... I mean, everybody wanted this for Bitcoin. I remember the year last year, even all of 2024, people were saying, how great would it be when we get all these ETFs and blah, 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 the world will be able to adopt Bitcoin. Well, that is also going to change the fundamental way Bitcoin trades. You're no longer going to get, more than likely, big ass rallies and big ass drops. It'll trade more like gold or risk markets. It'll be small moves, 1% to 2% days, forever. Occasionally you'll get black swan events where the VIX will kick up. I get it. It's this time when everybody is afraid because the VIX is up, right? That is the arbiter of all doom. When the VIX is up, everybody's afraid, everybody's worried. Everybody's thinking that this is it. This is the end. But it's never it. It's never the end. It's always good. It always goes back up. Maybe Bitcoin don't. I don't know, right? Maybe this time is different and Bitcoin's over with. I don't know. But I can look at this chart and see that even on gigantic spikes, just hold your wad. Don't freak out. Keep your cool. And understand that eventually this thing is going to roll over. It's going to roll over. And when this thing rolls back over again and starts printing fresh yearly lows, which it will, maybe not this year, but next year it will start printing. It will make lows, fresh lows. You will take out that 1414 level or 1421 level. You will get that eventually. Donald Trump likes the markets to go up. He's literally stopped multiple wars. He's literally got, or working on a, oh yeah, and don't forget Hamas's threat also, right? Trump did say, if you don't stop killing the Palestinian people, we're going to kill you. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that's got people a little bit upset too. But other than that, he wants the world to continue in the right direction. And he's a huge owner of Bitcoin himself. It was revealed a week ago or last week that Donald Trump owns billions and billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. So obviously he thinks it's going to go back up. Michael Saylor thinks it's going to go back up. I think it's going to go back up. When? Nobody knows. But yes, Bitcoin will make all-time highs again. When? And how low do we go before that happens? Nobody knows that stuff. Nobody. But with that being said, I mean, that's a big downside week candle right there. So what we're experiencing is a big move. I'm not trying to take away from what we're seeing on Bitcoin. That's a 15% bearish candle. Like last week, from high to low, that's a 15% bearish candle. This week, from high to low, 10% bearish candle. So, yeah, big move on Bitcoin. But it's only, 18% total. So not quite bear market territory. I wouldn't doubt it if this doesn't end up being the low on Bitcoin. Wouldn't doubt it at all. Nice close down here this week, even like trade sideways for the rest of the day, tomorrow and Sunday, open up a new weekly candle and then just take out the low and go straight up. That's the way I'm going to play next week on Bitcoin, more than likely. Depending on what happens today with risk and VIX. If the VIX closes below $24 today, I will have more of a bullish bias on Bitcoin going into next week. Because like I said, the VIX was up 30. 29.03. So you were up huge. It's down huge now. It's down to 24.02. So this is probably the low on Bitcoin, as long as that's the high on VIX. Maybe you get a little bit lower, but I don't think you're going to test the 50 today. It could be this Sunday, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I do think it's going to bounce and make all-time highs eventually. I honestly do. So here's the website to track. So right now, yesterday, we've seen a lot of outflows on ETF. So here's yesterday's. Son of a bitch. Go down. Thank you. Here's yesterday's outflows. Oh, sorry. No, that's today. Here. Big outflows yesterday. Bigger outflows than we got on October 13. All right. The biggest outflows that we've seen since remember, September, the market was going up. All right. Just stick with me. I have a point here. All right. So let's go back to the daily. The September 30, October, all the way to October 6. You're going up. Going up all the way to October 6. So huge inflows, September all the way to October 6. Look at this. That's the biggest inflows. Biggest inflows happened on the last up day. Wow, that's amazing. No, not really. It's not amazing at all. That's usually marks the highs, right? Now look, the biggest outflows that we've seen all week. So today is probably the lows. They're not nearly as big as the inflows were on Friday, though. So this might not be the lows. But we're getting closer to the lows. You're going to see a lot more people sell today because that's what people do, right? They buy the highs and they sell the lows. Like, that's what they do. That's what retail does. So just keep an eye on this day by day and see what transpired with the outflows. That way you're not going to know whether or not the next day is going to be bullish or bearish based on this data, but you can at least keep an eye on the big inflow and outflow days, because that's generally when things reverse. I wouldn't doubt it if you get a way bigger outflow day today. When the market's all said and done, when we finally get the data, you'll probably see that number go up bigger than 400 or bigger than 500. Like, say it's 750 or 8 or something like that. It'll probably be way bigger, and that will more than likely be the low as Bitcoin slowly starts to give back up these losses. The market's usually range bound. It's not trending. Bitcoin hasn't really been trending all year. It's given us a couple very small trending moves, but all in all, it has not been able to break out. I mean, it's $100,000 a coin. I'm not saying that it wasn't a good year. I'm not saying that back in 2024 wasn't a good year. I mean, that's when we breached 100K. Oh, wait. No, we breached 100K. Yes. In December 24. And we've basically been trading between 80 and 120 for the entire year. These are monthly candles, so this is a bad look, no doubt. It's a bearish engulfing. And it is breaking down. That's your range low right there. So we get rid of all this data. All right, and we only focus on this. Boom, boom, right? This is the range we've been trading in since July close. So since October, August, we're in October. So 4 months we've been trading inside of this range. Before you can say that Bitcoin is trending lower, you need to close under this. Then the next month, we would look for a move higher to sell. Right? We would be looking for the dead cat bounce because this candle broke down through the range and may have marked the top. That hasn't happened yet. We still have 14 days left on this candle. If this candle closes up, it's going to be a bullish engulfing. Could it close up in 14 days? Could we get back to 114 in 2 weeks? The answer is not only yes, it's hell yes, we can, right? We can get up there in 5 days, let alone 14 days. So look where this line is. Look on the month. This line is setting at October's open. Here's October's open right here. So if you close this month out here, you've got a bullish engulfing monthly candle. So it looks bad right now. So right now, this is where it needs to stop going down. I wouldn't start selling puts on this because of how volatile and how elevated the VIX still is. But it's almost time to start selling puts. It's almost time. This doesn't look good. You immediately rejected. Then you had a small dead cat bounce and you rolled over and you're seeing continuation. So you have 2 legs of price to the downside. But we've seen so many times where we think we're seeing a breakdown and we're not. It's not breaking down. It did today. It did break down, but it's not continuing the breakdown. If we get continuation down from here, then we'll get a little bit concerned. As long as we're trading above this, you can be a buyer. You can be a buyer. It doesn't look great. It looks like it's trying to break down. It doesn't look great at all. But the risk markets look good. So I do think we're going to basically stop going down on Bitcoin. Because being in this range is going to piss everybody off. And imagine how bearish everybody's going to get moving on from here. Because nobody else is looking at Bitcoin the way we are. Nobody else is looking at Bitcoin like this and saying it's in a 4-month range. Nobody. Everybody is looking at this bearish candle. That's all they're looking at. They don't see nothing else. They see this data, and that's it. So they're going to be so bearish next week and the week after because of this bearish monthly engulfing. But we know what's going on. We know it hasn't done anything yet. It's trying to. It's down at the bottom of the range, but still in the range. It barely got down below the range and immediately popped back up into the range. Boom. Now it's been selling off since that point. But it's got to break down and push before we can say, all right, it looks like we're breaking down here. Right now, we're still range bound. There's no need to worry. No need to worry. S&P's in a very tight 3% range. Bitcoin's in a little bit worse. It's in an 18% range. So Bitcoin is a lot more volatile than risk markets. But we knew that. It's going to take a lot more adoption before it stops being riskier than risk markets. And then if you want to be a seller, you know where to be a seller. Right? If it breaks up and comes back up here and tests this next week, then this is where you'd want to be a seller. In this area. It's basically the trade we just took on the S&P. Exact same trade. There's the weekly VWAP. I'm not worried yet. But yeah, I was on the wrong screen. Thank you, Oxum. I don't know why I do not get Discord alerts when I'm live on the... I got it right though now. We're good. All right. So Bonk trying to hold support. I don't know if I could be a buyer on these because these are just absolute meme tokens, garbage tokens. What's Ethereum doing on the long term? Same thing. But it's inside of August's range. Yeah, it looks a little worse. I mean, it looks about the same. It's actually a little better than Bitcoin because it's still testing that. I don't know if you're going to see it hold. I would expect a trap at the very least. Yeah, it looks like the sellers are winning here on Ethereum. Obviously, that could change. It almost looks to me like the markets are waiting for a news break. You know what I mean? They've got everything right where they want it, and now they're just waiting for Trump to say the magic words. And then nobody will get a chance to even buy it. Fear and greed is at 23. Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that. But I mean, anytime the VIX is up as much as it is, you're going to have extreme fear. So this is the time when you start being a buyer, but you don't buy heavy because we've seen the fear meters get down to 3 before, right? So we are in extreme fear here. We just got into it. We just got into it. So you can start adding. There's not, I don't even know if I would, I mean, yet, because it's still high. I mean, technically, we haven't even broken down. Why do this? Just... The weekly is still in bullish territory. Things are looking way worse than they really are. I mean, we don't really start to get into like severe buy mode until we're oversold on the RSI weekly. This thing is still above 60. So there's plenty of room to go to the downside if things break down. That's a big fat if. We're losing the 50 right now on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a lot weaker than the S&P, which you can look at it and see that. I mean, it's starting to look a little toppy. Huge divergence. But this divergence is probably played out. I mean, you just got your 50 test, so you can pretty much wipe out all of this divergence. Because first off, nobody made any money by trading the divergence. They might have through there, right? In May. They might have made money there. But from here to here, they didn't make money. Because that was choppy for multiple weeks. Then you had the August push. This is August. And this is September. And then here's October. A very, very, very choppy garbage up here for the last 4 months. Been extremely annoying. Yeah, I'd say this is probably a good buying opportunity on Bitcoin. But just make sure you're managing your risk. I'm going to go ahead and put on some small risk to the upside on Bitcoin. It is a higher high on the 5-minute. It's going to be hard to get long because the VIX is elevated so much. Bitcoin stops are so tight right now. Because Bitcoin's moving a lot. This one 5-minute candle is a $500 move. So it's just moving a lot. So it's going to be difficult to put on risk and not get stopped out. But this is the range low, so as long as we're trading above this point, I can be a buyer. So I'll probably have to lower the leverage slider. Oh, of course I'm going to have to lower the leverage. Why is that on 40? That's why it's so expensive. Well, I'm going to wait till I eat a stop. I'm not going to close it just to change the leverage slider, but yeah, I just noticed that. That's why. All right, so when I get stopped out, then I will fix that. I'll probably lower it to like 10. So that way I can have a wider stop. But I want to be a buyer down in here. I don't want to be a seller. Being a seller at the lows is never what I want to do. Just like I never want to be a buyer at the highs. What's up, Oxum? What's up, everybody? Good call on that fear and greed, though. That thing is just it looks rough. I have a theory that every four-year cycles, a super cycle occurs, having again 4-4-year cycles. If that makes sense. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Every 16 years, like it's a 16-year super cycle. That makes sense. We would have to look, well, we would have to look at more data. This data is not enough. So that's even less. There we go. Bit stamp. So every 16 years. Well, we've only been trading for 15 years. So 4 years would be 20 or 16. Yeah, it's 16. This is the 15th year Bitcoin's been trading. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, there could be super cycles. Yeah, for sure. I know the 4-year cycle model theory is going to be different. It's going to change because of the ETFs. It's as simple as that. You get rid of the ETFs, like we never got any ETFs this year, then obviously I would have been looking for shorts more than likely already when we put in a 3-drive topping formation. I was kind of hoping that this time the 3-drive topping formation didn't work. You know what I mean? Because there was one here, here, and here as well. And it ultimately did work, but the pullback was pretty big. So I was kind of hoping that this 3-drive topping formation wouldn't work. But it ultimately did. We should have been watching Daily Res for the short. Clearly, Donald Trump's tweet on Friday is what got us to where we are. You take away that tweet and Bitcoin's up here at 118. At best. Right? At best. You take away that tweet, Bitcoin's probably at fresh all-time highs. Bitcoin is a lot more volatile than other assets. Well, this chart almost looks the same as my Coinbase chart. Except for a few differences. Yeah. That's the range we're in. Loving it. Let's see what it does. I was watching this for a retest down here because the dollar is bouncing today. So needless to say, I missed the gold short. What time did it bounce? The London session. That's probably what time the gold short worked. Yep. London session. There's your 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock candle. Your 2 o'clock candle tested hourly supply. Rejected. 4-hour res. Missed it. See, yesterday we were talking about not buying this. That's your blow-off move. It happened late session yesterday. And then into the Asian session. And then Asia sold it. No, London. Yeah, Asia did sell it, but then London. Actually, if you would have had your stop above that, you'd have been golden. So if you would have sold it during Asia, the Asia Open starts at 2000 hours. If you shorted there at the Open, stop above the day high, you nailed the short on gold. I don't know how low it's going to go, but I'd say it's probably done. I'd need a pullback to get involved in it. And this is another thing here that could threaten Bitcoin bears. If gold rolls over, these people might go into Bitcoin. I doubt it, but it didn't happen last time. I think this is being driven by a central bank, but it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what's driving it. I'd say it's probably done. I'd say that's going to be your last hoorah on gold. We'll see what it does next week. I doubt we're pulling back and taking out the week highs, but if we do, that would be great. But that's probably not going to happen. This was probably the last one. It put you up at levels you haven't seen on gold since back in the 70s. Being overbought. Yeah, see, Fartcoin ain't breaking down. Bitcoin's struggling at 4-hour res. I think that would be the better short op on Bitcoin if you were looking for shorts. I don't think you should be looking for shorts down here. But if I was looking for shorts, it would have to be up here. I took profits on my bonk short because, I mean, you're right into support. It could break. But it's a take profit level for sure. I keep my eyes on that risk, on the risk markets, because I mean, it's like a beautiful rejection of weekly resistance, but the real reason was the September high. But had you been watching weekly resistance as well, you could have gotten in on a nice, like a little bit tighter, a day earlier. But them shorts, Everybody that sold weekly res on Wednesday was sweating on Thursday. They were sweating that. Oh, they thought they were going to get stopped out. I thought they were going to get stopped out too. But it ultimately rolled over. And here we are. So not quite a bearish engulfing because we didn't take out this candle's high, but we are rejecting the 100. And we are rejecting the weekly VWAP. So that position should be in the money. But we need to see further continuation to really get paid. Like, you're barely pulling back here. Look where you bounced, man. September's midpoint. I mean, it's getting easy, man. I mean, you put in an absolute flawless September midpoint check. You came in short of the midpoint here and here. That's a double bottom. That's a bearish target. That's liquidated. Bearish target done. Now, getting short here, we're just looking for continuation. That's all it is. We're probably going to eat the stop. Probably going to eat a stop. And buying a put is so bad when the VIX is elevated like this. Because you're paying so much money for the premium. But to be honest, if it does end up getting downside continuation from here and rolls over, you're going to be glad you had that 30-day put on. If we get back under this swing low down here, this thing could start to drop massively. At least down to here. Not today. I'm not saying that we're going to get that today. But I'd be happy if it just stays away from 66.25 today. But you're going to find buyers right here. I don't know what this white line is. I've already forgotten. It was yesterday's low. I mean, that looks so bullish. But when you're trending lower, and we are here, those are all lower highs. You got to watch these big spikes because these usually pull in emotional buyers and then the sellers get another push. We'll see what happens. I mean, Bitcoin is back up above 4-hour support. Like I said, if I was going to sell Bitcoin, it would have to be here. It would have to be upon a rejection here. If you get a rejection here, because the VIX is still elevated, you can sell spot or, futures. I wouldn't be selling any spot, but I'm not getting rid of any of my Bitcoin that I own. But to, basically to protect any further downside push on Bitcoin, then you could short the futures. I think a short right here is too low. You are pretty extended from the daily 21, man. Looking for a short down here is just not, it's not the trade to me. It doesn't mean it can't go lower. I never mean that. I just simply mean for me to take a short, nah, not today. Risk markets is better because it gave us a nice pullback, a big, deep pullback. So, but for anybody that was listening a little bit earlier when I did pull up USD Swissy, I'm looking to be a buyer on that. It doesn't look like a buy. But I'm looking for dollar strength here. What is that? Monthly support. I think we might get an opportunity to be a buyer at October's open or September's open. Because this is a higher low here. So this higher low needs to stay intact. If this higher low stays intact, I'm going to want to be a buyer on the USD Swissy next week. If I can be. I think your gold bugs are done. And I think that could help dollar strength. I think that's what's been basically hurting dollar strength is the gold bulls. We'll see though. But the reason I want to hold this long is because there's a massive interest rate spread on this. Oh, come on. See, there's a massive spread. You're in negative interest rates on the very near term, and you're still at positive interest rate on the USD. So there is a carry trade there for long. The reason people are not long this for the carry is because they like the yen better. The yen is far more liquid than the Swiss franc is. And there's other reasons. But I mean, a negative interest rate, you could still get the carry. So just by holding a long position, as long as you don't get stopped out, you'll make small P&L gains on a daily basis. Yeah, I mean, what cryptos are freaking running hard? Oh, not many. AIO. I don't know what AIO is. But it's just getting started, kind of. I don't love that, but It looks like they bought that one there. But they're struggling to hold it. BTC is currently weak. Yes, it is. Okay, let me read some of these comments. Most alts this cycle for the first time didn't do shit at all while Bitcoin went from... Yeah, it was a weird alt season. Like Pingu and Farcoin and all those, they got theirs in like June, July of this year. So like April is when Pingu started. And then June it got an upside expansion closing higher, and then July is when it really exploded. That's a 200% move to the upside. And then Bonk is similar, right? July, boom. Barcoins came in April. And it didn't do shit after April. But still, multiple 100% move. I mean, from those 2 months, 255%. You're probably talking more about the more known alts like Litecoin. Wait, let's go look at it. Yeah, Litecoin had a big bullish move in July and August. XRP started last year. So XRP going into the beginning of this year. So Q4 of last year and January of this year is when XRP had insane growth. This is also when Bitcoin broke out to 100K, broke out above 100K. So XRP moved up almost 600% in the same time span as Bitcoin breaking out above 100K. So September, October, this is Q4 right here. So Bitcoin had a huge move going into January. There's your January candle. So this is the breakout on XRP the same time that Bitcoin did. Bitcoin really hasn't done anything since then. We did get a 4-month rally when the lows were put in April. And that's it. Like, that's it. That's all year. The rest of the year you were sideways. So yeah, that's why that's pretty much all you got on that as well. Now, Ethereum got its expansion late. April 25, that's when it kicked off. May, July, boom. August, boom. So that July candle is where you've seen Pingu and Bonk absolutely go ham to the upside. So, I mean, looking back, I can see when they all decided to start moving, but it was either while Bitcoin was moving or while Ethereum was moving. Not really, it wasn't like all of them were moving in unison, like past cycles. You gotta think, a lot of people gotten killed trading cryptos since, whenever, 2020. So a lot of people that lost all their money don't give a shit anymore. They're probably forever done. It wasn't an easy alt season to trade. I mean, it was only July and August. There really wasn't any alt season before then, going all the way back to 2021. You only had July and August. And July and August, funnily enough, is when Ethereum took off. There's July, there's August. So alt season might not be done yet. Like, it looks done. But it might not be. As long as you're trading under August's open on dominance, you can be a buyer on Ethereum. So maybe wait for dominance to retest that level before you start looking to buy Ethereum. Well, maybe not. Ethereum will be down a lot more if it goes up and retests that August open again. And it's pretty much right there on August open for the ETH. I mean, that's where you're bouncing from now is the August open. So looking at the dominance chart, I would assume for Ethereum, for the alt season for Ethereum to continue, you kind of need to see it hold support here. It's super important. If it does, I would absolutely be a buyer on the ETH, guys. We're also looking for Bitcoin to hold this exact same thing, only it's August's low. So we do kind of have a pretty easy level to watch here. Shit. If you think alt season is not over yet, then you can still be a buyer on Ethereum all the way down to August's low. It would be much nicer and it would look more consistent with just a pullback if it holds like this. Because if you get one of these bitches next month, it's going to look bad. All right, it'll look bad because you'll be down in here. I mean, that was a full-on test of that, so you would be full-on testing this. And at that point, it's just going to look done. It's going to look done. It's going to look like a complete and total rejection of higher prices. So you kind of see that Ethereum does need to hold this zone here for upside continuation. And the same goes for Bitcoin. Kind of needs to hold this for upside continuation. I mean, we're seeing Monday's midpoint hold support on S&P. This is going to be so the next 30-minute candle needs to open up and just go if this one doesn't. Otherwise, it's going to look and feel more like a support hold. Speak of the devil. We expect it to wiggle here a little bit because of the intraday VWAP. But if this is just a rip your face off rally and what is going to be the start of a downtrend, then it shouldn't hold all day. If it holds all day, I would say that's probably going to be the low. Could you please check BMN and R? Yeah, we look at this all the time. It's going to matter what Ethereum does. BMNR, right? It looks rough. Ethereum looks rough. Bitcoin looks rough. Everything looks rough today. Yeah, it's breaking down. It's not great. You're losing your lows. You're losing your uptrend. So Monday will be important for BMNR. If this is just a trap, then you're going to want to see a gap up next week. So you need to see a gap up next week. It needs to gap up back above the 50. If you get that on Monday, then you could be a buyer as long as support or at least demand. The demand level holds. So what I would want to see to say, okay, Friday was a trap. Monday, I would want to see a gap up like to 51, 51.20, and then push down into 50.07 intraday and hold, and then start to go away from there. If that happens, then you can be a buyer there. But if you gap down on Monday, it's not a trap. You're trending lower. Okay? And then you just can't buy it until it builds in support. Next level to watch is going to be down there. So Monday will be important for BMNR. Be important for Ethereum. You're going to need to see Ethereum find support for BMNR to find support. It's looking rough. This is why I don't trade trend lines, because they usually don't hold. The worst part about it is this is a wedging formation, and you bought it right up in here. Not you as in you bought this, but people bought it because it's breaking out here. And the very next day gapped up, looked like it was going to be a gap and go, and you're going to see massive gains. That isn't what happened. This was a trap. Boom. Next day you gapped up right into the same level that I'm talking about now, and that's where it rejected. So that's kind of what you want to see next week. But if you gap lower than wherever today's low ends up being, because we're just halfway through the session, it's not a trap, then none of that analysis matters. You'll just have to wait for it to test this level down here and see if it holds support. It doesn't look great, but at least it's not a super fast mover, at least. It can be. Yeah, these things are volatile. I don't love them. I would rather trade Ethereum than this myself, because this chart doesn't look anything like Ethereum's chart. But it's struggling today because Ethereum is. Ethereum is right into support. So Ethereum is going to have to hold this for BMNR to hold its level. If Ethereum doesn't, then you can say, well, BMNR probably isn't either. I wouldn't be a buyer today. I would be waiting to see what it does Monday. And even then, I wouldn't be trading it because earnings is so close. This is a stock. It isn't if it comes in really bad earnings, it's going to get sold off regardless of what Ethereum does. But yeah, it could be building in a bear trap here. Could be is the huge key word. But it is kind of like a symmetrical triangle. It did lose it to the upside. So right now it looks like the bears are winning. So basically your sellers that are technical traders or pattern traders, they're going to see this as a rejection. And they're going to have a downside. They're going to be looking for short side entries with a potential measured move target down into here. Because they're witnessing a key breakdown of a symmetrical triangle. After an upside break rejection. And you haven't liquidated this double bottom yet either. So I would say that might happen before you make a bear trap. But I don't know, right? I can never predict what's going to happen, but it doesn't look good. So I'm gonna have to get off here because my back is starting to hurt a little bit here in a minute, but I'm kind of watching the S&P right here. I'm not loving what it's doing. Here, let me pull it up on this chart because I've already got my drawings. See, I'm not loving this. This is looking like a support build. This 30-minute candle needs to close back under that 100, man. Or more than likely, I'm not going to hold this put over the weekend. So buying a 30-day output was a dumb idea, but actually, I don't know yet. I'll make that decision depending on what this does. Like if it breaks down, then yeah, I'll probably hold it over the weekend. But if it trades inside of this, going into the end of the session, like if we're still trading in this range at the end of the session, I'm going to close that put. Because it really, if this is just a dead cat bounce and this trend is going to continue, then it should continue from here. It's already made a gigantic spike above where everybody was looking for the gap fill. And then you've seen multiple upside candles from there. So the squeeze was happening real good. The fact that it's pulling into support here and holding is concerning me. I don't have a bearish bias. A 3% correction on the S&P is nothing. It's a buying opportunity. We are buyers on 3, 5, and 10% dips during a bull market, and you are in a bull market. If you're trading above the daily 21, or I'm sorry, the daily 200, you're in a bull market. You're in a bull market, as long as you're trading above that. See how you lost it back there during the bear market and then put off that downside continuation? You're nowhere near that. This is just a correction. That's what I'm saying. Like the size of that VIX move, we're not seeing that represented here in the markets. VIX up to 30. The S&P should be down 10%. It's so weird. Okay, so where were we? August 2nd, 2024. Right here. So we were testing the 100. The last time we got up to 30 on the VIX. You're nowhere near that here. And to test the 200 was March 6th. $20.25. Look at that. So March 10, but it was a slow push, not a big aggressive push. But still 30. We were testing the 200. But we hit 30 again on the VIX, and we couldn't even break below the 50 on the S&P. So it doesn't seem like this move doesn't fit with what we're seeing here. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it just seems to me like all day yesterday I was telling myself, because the VIX was moving higher. We took out the previous day's high. But once we broke out above that, I pretty much knew that I was right on the short, right? Because that's when we ended the stream yesterday at like 15, 20 minutes after 11. Because my back was killing me yesterday. So I ended the stream. Then I'm eating breakfast and I see the VIX breaks out above the previous day's high. So at that point, I know my short is good on the S&P. And then it started to get even more aggressive going into the late session. Right? And it's like a nothing burger. I mean, to be fair, that is a 40-point drop. But still, like, when the VIX is exploding like that, the S&P should be getting absolutely murked. It wasn't until the Asian session that it started to get hammered. This is very, very, very weird. Price action. The VIX is probably doomed. That's a higher close, man. That's a higher close too. So in one fell swoop, you took out multiple up closes. This is threatening. This is very not bearish. I don't know what's going on with these markets, but it doesn't look as bad as everyone else thinks it is. Bitcoin looks bad. It's down 18%, so of course it looks rough. But I'm willing to argue it's done going down from here. If this look continues on the S&P, like if the S&P don't roll over, I'd say Bitcoin's over its skis. It's went too far. Too far to the downside. This is super bullish. Everybody's off sides here on the bearish side. ETFs and human mind, those factors will always make cycles differ and less predictable, but still kind of inside of a predictive long-term model. Yeah, I agree with that 100%, which is why I'm not super bearish right now, because like you just said, a very predictive long-term model is to be an optimist, right? Even on Bitcoin, because if you look at Bitcoin on the long term, that thing moves up. This is all the data on Bitcoin. Whether you look at it like that or on log, this is an uptrending asset. So long-term predictiveness says you should be buying dips on Bitcoin. Even when you have a period of 3 quarters in a row of negativeness, right? Or 4 quarters in a row of bearishness, you buy that. You buy that. We're literally 1 quarter in, and it is a bearish engulfing quarter. So it is a rough looking candle, but the predictiveness of it says this is a buying opportunity. A buying opportunity. It's funny to me that September, a historically bad month for Bitcoin, you pretty much go up all month. And then October, which is also known as Uptober in the crypto bros world, gets hammered. Makes sense. I mean, they're obviously trying to break all the models. Which is why I don't believe the 4-year cycle model is going to work this time. I think this is a setup. This is to make everybody bearish going into November, December for the 4-year cycle model crash. Boom. And then they run this sumbitch up to the moon. I could see that happening. Everybody is bearish right now. You go look across the Twitter sphere and you tell me it don't smell bearish. Everybody is posting doom stuff. Not James. James always got his head on his shoulders. He's a pro. Other people. Is Bitcoin a bubble? I don't know that guy. I don't know that. Understanding market structure is key to navigating volatility and risk. I agree. That's a freaking sales pitch. Yeah. How come like all I get is advertisement? Feared it, that's good. That's where amazing entries live. With the C-Wave target nearly hit, I'm starting to aggressively deploy all my dry powder. What are you doing? Are you buying or are you selling? Right? He's really saying nothing. Well, we know that. Earlier this morning, I was seeing a lot of negative posts. I don't really see that happening right now, but most of what I'm seeing right now are advertisements. Obviously, I'm following the wrong people. Okay, he's bullish. Looks like. Bitcoin has fallen below its 200. Is that daily moving average? It did today. There's your daily moving average. That's the 200 symbol. And the 200 EMA is there too. So yeah, it doesn't look great. But it's a buying opportunity. Look at the S&P 500. I'm closing that put here in a second. Look at the Bitcoin long. That's because it's got freaking jacked up leverage. I don't know how that happened. But look how tight that stop is. This is a 5-minute chart. I gotta take. Hang on. Hang on. Let's see what it does right here. I gotta add the same size position on with 20x leverage. Maybe even 10. Because I want to get a wide stop loss on this to hold it. I just bought it when it retested that August low. Right here. My entry's like right here. I actually bought it on this candle as it started to push up because I was late getting to it, but I was looking to buy that. So since I got on double the leverage, I have to shrink the position by half in order not to get killed. I'm going to set a take profit just to get the position size down. I don't want to hold a 40x leverage trade. That would be sweet though. It exploded to the upside. Let's go ahead and take profits. Cut it in half. Take profits at 60% and just cut it in half. And then set this at 8%. It'll be a $30 loss. We gotta manage this quickly. There we go. Boom, boom. Okay, good. Because of that, that screwed me, man. I did not see that. But with that on, I could set in a very small position. I mean, that's literally huge leverage. And it won't be a $30 loss now because I'm half of a position size. So let's fix this. We want, what would that be? Oh, yeah, we can go wider here. Perfect. That's still not very wide, is it? Oh my God. That's terrible. Oh my God, it's so close. That's a good look. Remember, that's where I said I would want to take the short. And it's not rejecting that, so that's a good look. We're going to have to get out of this risk trade. If it makes one more 5-minute candle higher close, I'm out. I'm getting out. Because it should roll over. The buyers bought the intraday VWAP. The intra-week VWAP didn't even slow it down. Problem is it could be a big spike, and that could cause a lot of money loss. Well, I made $550, so basically I'm risking 100 of that on this trade. That's a huge gain on that small account. $500 is a nice win. It's way more than above average. Way above average. VIX looks like it's going for a session high. Actually, right, but you wrote that earlier. Yeah, it did look like it was going to. Right now, it looks good. Right now, the VIX looks great. The VIX looks like it's pretty much donezo. That's a 4-hour candlestick chart. So it's good, right? You broke down below that low, closed lower. That's a lower low and a lower close. So it looks good. This is what we want to see. Lower lows, lower closes. It's the opposite of what we got going on here. Yeah, I haven't checked the news. Might want to check that. Bravo says, find a good chiropractor, get an adjustment. Yeah, right now, the answer to that is no. I might do that when I can actually stand up straight and walk. But right now, I might punch a man if he was to squeeze on my back. It's in bad shape. Can you look at Hive, says Johnny Utah. Yeah, I mean, are we live? Oh yeah, we are. We're live public. I totally did not mean to do that. Son of a bitch. This is whatever. All right, Hive. Ooh, what is it? I don't know what it is. Digital Technologies. Oh, goodness. It's a low cap stock. It looks like it's a long... This was a split, though. But it is a long-term rounding, bottoming formation, whatever you want to call it. So it does look like it built in a very long-term support. The whole time I thought I was talking to the members only. Whatever. All right. Looks good. It looks good because you rejected the lows down here, right? That's going to be your monthly support. That's your long-term bottoming formation here. So this is your long-term range. Like if you were looking at this yearly candles, right? Yearly candles. So the bottom half of this bearish candle out. It looks okay, right? So clearly people were buying it at $1. And they did here again. So it looks okay for now. It's trying to break out, but it's failing. So be very careful. It could reject here. Could reject. If it does, then I would watch it back down at $1. I don't know what it does, so I don't know what the long-term macroeconomics look like on this. Do they make money? That's the kind of questions you gotta ask when you're trading a stock. Does the company make money? Do they hold a lot of debt? I would say the answer to that is no, because they did a reverse split. did a reverse split. So I don't know what it is, but it's trying to break out. I wouldn't be a buyer up here. Moving forward, if you could watch October's open. I would really, if I had my eye on this for long-term growth, I would really want to see it hold where it's at right now. Because this is your expansionary candle, your breakout candle. I would want to see it hold the midpoint of this monthly range. If it could do that on the daily, which you're not doing that, but is this just being traded by momentum traders? Like, this looks like a momentum trade. What is it? Pinviz. No, it is not a low cap. It's a low cap, but it is not a low float. So it is not being scalped by momentum scalpers. Has a big short interest, 15%. It's not huge, but it's big. Oh, short float's not big, sorry, 6%. I was looking at the wrong thing. This is why you're not seeing a big explosion to the outside. The short interest just isn't there. Watch the October open moving forward. All right, on Hive. That's basically all you can do. When I see trend lines, I see liquidity. Yeah, me too. Me too. I like watching horizontal levels. Trend lines work really good when an asset has a lot of momentum in one direction. But usually a trend line break doesn't mean that you're done. But we've seen it time and time again where they break out to the upside, then reject, then go break out to the downside. If you want to be a buyer on BMNR, even though it's breaking down out of a symmetrical triangle, just wait for Monday and wait for the gap up. Wait for the gap up back above today's high. Because at least then you can say Friday shorts are stuck. If you get downside continuation Monday, then you're not looking to buy it because it is not a trap. It's not just a liquidity grab. There's actually sell side going on there. So what do we got going on here with the S&P? It's right back up to day highs. I don't like this. There's your higher close. So at the best case scenario, you're running the day highs. I no longer like this to the downside. It doesn't need to do that. Like, it spent all morning from London smoking shorts. No, they're buying this. They spent all morning smoking shorts. They smoked the shorts at Gap Fill. They smoked the shorts at the VWAP. Now they're about to smoke the shorts here, where we shorted it. So I'm going to go ahead and close that position down. There's no point in setting in it any longer. I don't like what it's doing. The VIX is rolling over. So just take the money and run from yesterday's short. Take the money and run from yesterday. Yesterday's setup was much cleaner anyway. So clean. Oxum Bitcoin approaching previous 4-hour high. Yeah, it's above it. It's currently Or it was a second ago. Yeah, it's still above it. This is the range to watch. I like it down here. So even if it rejects the highs today and comes back to August lows, as long as it can trade above this point, I'll be a buyer on Bitcoin. Now, if it's trading under it, leave it alone. Because you're losing the 200 EMA, the 200 simple on the daily. So you could see a much bigger down move. But as long as it's trading above 105, 130, I don't mind holding longs on it. I don't mind at all. Let me make sure I didn't, because I didn't know that I was publicly live. I thought we were on the community only. So I just want to make sure I did not miss any answers. Thoughts on RXX and TLT? Hopefully you're still here. I'm sorry, I did not know we were public. That's why I wasn't really looking at the... Doesn't matter. Here we go, RXX. This is a pharmaceutical company, and it's a cheap one. Most of your big firms won't hold anything under $10, and then there's a law that basically says they can't hold anything under $5. So who owns this then? Insiders and retail. Like that's who's propping it. Insiders and retail. So the only objective price to watch on this is $5, regardless. Like, regardless if it's a monthly open or anything, just $5. If it's under $5, just get rid of it. Just send it off to Never Never Land, because nobody else is owning it at that point. I don't want to be long a company that only insiders are holding, because they're holding it praying to the gods that management does something to make them profitable again. You know what I mean? But obviously, looking at the chart, it doesn't look good. It makes fresh lows. Long term, it's a disgusting chart. It is, I guess you could look at that as a descending wedge, kind of. It's an ugly descending wedge, but so maybe wait for the breakout. I don't know. I don't know what to do with something like this. I wouldn't even get involved in anything like this. So there's really no technical analysis to give you on this. You're below everything. Long term, you're in a multi-month range. Yeah, you're basically just trading inside of August or July's range. Looks like a whole lot of nothing happening here. And then TLT, I haven't looked at that in a while, but at least it's taking out last month's highs. That's a good sign. I figure it will because of rate cuts. So this is inverse the 20-year yield. Here's your 20-year yield. So this should trend lower eventually. Not as much as, say, the 2-year or the 3-month yield will, right? Because these are the near-term bond. So the near-term bond is close to what the Fed fund rate does. The longer-term bond yield is different. But as long as rate cuts are happening, this should trend lower. And it isn't making higher closes on a monthly basis, so that is good news. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because the TLT is inverse to this. So you would be watching monthly support on the TLT. That's resistance. So your support is down here. So any pullback into 85.29 would be a viable opportunity. That is, of course, unless you're breaking down. Then you don't want to buy it. But if you're just tagging it and then you start to trade back away from that level, it's a viable opportunity. Your last 2 months, this is a higher high. So in September, you took out August's high and you closed higher. That's a trending candle. The fact that you have now taken the high out again in this month means that you are seeing upside continuation. There's a ton of resistance up in here, right? A ton of it. So it's got a lot to prove, but it is also forming a very long-term descending wedge. Very long-term. This pattern is getting long in the tooth. So if it breaks out, wait a day or two. Make sure the breakout isn't a trap. It isn't a trap if you break out and see upside continuation. On the daily, there's still plenty of room for this thing to consolidate inside of this wedge. But it looks better than it doesn't. It held support, set a higher low, and moved to the upside. Held support, set a higher low, moved to the upside. So far, it looks constructive, but it's coming into resistance, so I don't love buying it up here. September's midpoint would be a fantastic place to watch for pullbacks. Longer term, 88.26 would be a buying opportunity for me. As long as it doesn't just push right straight through it. If you get a daily candle that looks like craziness, then no, you don't want to buy that. But if it starts putting in like candles like this, then you can be a buyer with a tight stop, 87.50. Now you could make it simple and just buy 88.50 with a buck stop loss. You'd be targeting $90. It'd be a simple trade. And as long as we're in a rate cutting environment, I like that trade. I like that trade. I don't know. There might be like some bond ETFs that track the 5-year, but I don't know of any that track the 2-year. If you like, I would rather be short the 2-year yield or long the 2-year bond, right? Because it's closer to the Fed fund rate, and we know that they're looking to cut more, at least a little bit more, based on the dot plot. So this should, in theory, trend higher. Looks good on the monthly. But the longer term is going to be a little bit more tricky, right? There's a lot more macroeconomical stuff that goes in, that's involved with this. What's the dollar doing? There's a lot of stuff, right? So just watch the 88.50 level or 88. Let 88 be your max pain. All right, you guys, let me see. TXF1 exclamation point. I don't know if I can even pull that up. It looks bullish. Yeah, it looks good. I mean, it only goes up. You're in a long-term trend here, so it probably is getting close to the end, or pullback coming soon to a theater near you. Actually, last week you did get one, so this thing trades wonky. It doesn't appear to have any. Here, let's pull up the correlation coefficient and pull up the S&P 500. I don't think it has much. Oh, it has a little bit of correlation. As long as you're in a bull market in the S&P 500, it looks like you're pretty much in a bull market on this. Like, looks good. And you are in a bull market on the S&P. Oh, it's a Bitcoin miner. Hive was a Bitcoin miner. Yeah, we did look at Hive. All right, looks like I got it. They make money and a little debt and hold lots of Bitcoin. Yeah, so they're probably going to trade with Bitcoin, just like the other miners, right? Just like the rest of them. As long as Bitcoin's doing good, they tend to do good. Mara, Riot, Clean Spark, all the miners. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart, and as always, happy trading, everybody.